My son got a $15 gas card while his cousin unwrapped a PS5, so I shut down the family's finances. Hi, I'm Kyle, 39, and this Christmas, my son got a $15 gas card while his cousin unwrapped a PS5, an iPad, and an envelope fat with cash. That's when I closed the bank account that had been holding this entire family together for the last 7 years. Let me set the scene. My parents' living room. Cream carpet, no one's allowed to wear shoes on, but somehow someone always manages to drop cranberry sauce right in the middle. The tree was fake, shedding glitter and fake snow like it had a condition. Everyone was there, crammed into the room like it was a family photo op. My sister, her son Max, 13 and dramatically allergic to humility, and my mom, orchestrating the unwrapping like a stage manager. Max tore through wrapping paper like it owed him money. New iPad, brand new PS5 with a bow like it was a baby, and an envelope thick enough to stop a bullet. Max gave a little fist pump. My dad beamed like he'd just knighted the boy. Meanwhile, my son, Drew, 12, polite to a fault, the kind of kid who offers his fries to people who didn't order any, got a recycled Santa card. Inside, a $15 gas station gift card. Not even a note. Just the logo from Speedway staring back at him like a dare. Drew still said, "Thanks, Grandpa," with genuine warmth, because I've raised him to be better than the world. My sister snorted. And then my dad, as if summoned by guilt or pride, said, "Well, Max is trying harder. His grades are getting better. You know how it is. You get what you earn." Except I didn't know how it is. I knew Drew's report card was still stuck to our fridge back home. Straight A's, glowing teacher comments, and he'd just helped a new kid learn the lunch line system. I also knew Max had bombed math so badly in August that my sister called me begging for $150 to cover a private tutor. I paid it. Quietly. Just like I always did. My hands started shaking. Not because I was about to explode, but because that's how I get when I'm furious and trying not to burn the house down with my words. I said nothing. Just helped pick up scraps of wrapping paper. Even untangled the ribbon from the PlayStation box before the dog ate it. Drew sat beside me, leaned in slightly, so our shoulders touched. His hair still smelled like peppermint shampoo, the kind he picked because he liked the tingle. He slid the card into his hoodie pocket and gave me a little smile, like we were in on a joke no one else would ever get. It was in that exact moment, surrounded by forced cheer, gift-wrapped injustice, and the low hum of a fake fireplace on the TV, I decided. I wasn't going to be the family's silent ATM anymore. I wasn't going to keep bankrolling the people who couldn't see my son. Not when he was sitting right there, doing everything right, and still invisible. I rent the ground floor of a brick 3-flat just west of Logan Square, Chicago. It's not fancy, but it's solid, like me. I work city desk, budget hearings, potholes that eat Toyotas, school board protests. My byline runs under stories no one reads unless there's streets in it. But I like numbers. I like receipts. I like clean columns that tell you where the money went and why. Drew's dad and I split when he was 3. We still co-parent. He's decent, boring in the right ways, and we keep things smooth. It works. Drew's quiet like me. At parties, he finds the person nobody's talking to and makes them laugh. He gives me coffee-flavored hard candies from the corner store because he thinks they're fancy. That's the kind of kid I have. And that's the kind of kid they don't see. After I got promoted from night police blotter to City Hall beat, I opened a separate bank account. I named it Family Sundays. It started small, $2.25 Instacart grocery deliveries to my parents each week. Eggs, coffee, the kind of bread my dad claims doesn't give him heartburn, even though it does. Then came the gas bill, the electric bill, the water bill. My mom liked the AC colder. My dad acted like he didn't see the utility invoices. Internet too, because my dad kept cursing out the crossword puzzle app when the Wi-Fi lagged. Sundays? I hosted. I bought a massive IKEA table, added 4 chairs for drop-ins. I made enough food to feed a mid-sized battalion. Roast chicken, pot roast, lasagna the size of a mattress. I kept a drawer full of candles for birthdays no one remembered until someone walked in with a grocery cake at 3 p.m. saying, "Oh crap, is it today?" Big stuff, too. The garage roof, $8 for 100 after my dad stared at it for 6 months like it would fix itself. My sister's car insurance, $7.50 for 3 missed months. Max's tutoring. Every August, I booked a lake house in Michigan on my card. 6 bedrooms. $3,600. They called it a family tradition. I made the down payment in February, paid the rest in June. Nobody asked if it worked for me. I coordinated group texts. Claire, can you push dinner to 4? Bears game. Claire, Logan's bringing 2 friends. More cupcakes. Claire, can you call the rental and ask if it has a grill? I didn't say no. I just did it. And every year, Drew was there, helping slice cake, clear plates, take coats. My son, the one they gave a used sweater with my brother's name still in Sharpie on the tag for his birthday. We didn't know what you were into, my mom had said, while Max opened noise-canceling headphones and yelled, Grandma, you're the best. Drew didn't cry. He just folded the paper neatly. They made up things like Cousin's Day for Instagram, took Max to the trampoline park. Nobody invited Drew. When I texted my sister why his face wasn't in the photos, she said, Oh my God, it was last minute. Drew had spent that afternoon painting superhero capes with candy color markers, matching them to his cousin's favorite jelly beans. That night, I vacuumed and found the photo under a chair. They dropped it like a receipt. I told myself it was forgetfulness, that this was temporary, that family was more important than fairness. And then came Christmas, the PS5, the envelope of cash, my dad's voice saying Max tried harder. And that's when I stopped lying to myself. I didn't say anything that day. Not at Christmas. Not while Drew was clutching that $15 gas card like it was radioactive. Not when my sister cackled at her own joke about fair rewards. I didn't need to say anything. I had already made up my mind. That night, after we got home, Drew went to the couch with a book his other grandparents got him, some space adventure with a hero who looks like no one in our family. He curled up in a peppermint-scented hoodie and disappeared into his imaginary world. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the fridge. His report card was still up, a little crumpled at the corner. Straight A's. A note from his science teacher. Drew helped a new student navigate the lunch system. Your son has empathy beyond his years. I looked at the cold metal under my hand and thought, this is the evidence. So I opened my laptop, pulled up my bank's website. Family Sundays still had a balance of $9,116.48. Some people would see that as a cushion. Others would see it as a trap. I saw it as a tab I'd been footing without thanks or acknowledgement. On the side of the screen, I saw the upcoming auto payment scroll by like a checklist of all the ways I'd enabled people to ignore my child. Instacart, every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. $189. ComEd AutoPay, $98. 64. Water Department, $41. 25. VRBO balance for the Michigan Lake House, $3,650. Tomorrow, group text would light up with, what time is dinner? Can Ethan bring Ryan? Claire, can you resend the address? So I clicked the bank's chat button. The bot couldn't help. Of course it couldn't. It told me to call. I picked up the phone, dialed, waited. Thank you for calling Midwest Bank. Your call is important to us. My cat headbutt the Instacart receipt on the fridge while the hold music played. Finally, a human. Hi, this is Melissa. How can I assist you today? I said, I need to close an account. My voice was even. Not cold, not emotional. Just a sentence I'd been practicing silently for months without knowing it. She asked the usual, last 4 digits of my social, mother's maiden name, last deposit. Then, is there anyone else on the account? No, just me. Always has been. Just me. And them. And Drew, watching me hold everything up while pretending it wasn't heavy. She asked if there were pending payments. I told the truth. Of course there were. But I want the account closed now, I said. I know those payments will fail. That's fine. She offered a workaround. We can pause the auto payments and keep the account open just in case. No, thank you. I want it closed. I think she heard something in my voice. That kind of quiet resolve strangers recognize when they've heard enough of it on their end of the line. Okay, Claire, she said gently. Where would you like the balance transferred? My personal savings. Last 4 digits, 448. I listened to her type. Numbers shifting behind the screen. A balance moving towards someone who finally claimed it. She gave me a confirmation number. I wrote it on the Instacart magnet. The one that said, World's Okayest Cook. Then I took the debit card from the drawer, the one so worn from grocery store scanners the logo had vanished, and I cut it in half with the kitchen scissors. Not with anger. Not with flair. Just with finality. Like a ribbon at a grand closing. The next morning, I didn't text the family. I didn't subtweet. I didn't give a TED talk to the mirror in the bathroom about boundaries or favoritism or financial codependence. I just made pancakes. Chocolate chip, cut into squares, the way Drew likes them. No one else at the table. Just us. 2 plates. 2 forks. No ceremony. He topped his pancakes with gummy worms, said it made them freaky in a fun way. Then he told me, between bites, "It's okay, Mom." I didn't ask what he meant. I just said, "No, it's not." He gave a little shrug and said, "I like gas station candy." And then he laughed. Not a real laugh, just one of those dry little sounds kids make when they're trying to comfort you. We used the gift card that afternoon. Walked to the station down the block. Bought gummy worms, a crossword ticket, and a bottle of Sprite. Lost the scratcher. Drew still cheered like we won. He said he liked the possibility part. That night, my phone blew up. Texts, calls, group chat notifications blinking like a fire alarm. Claire, what time is dinner? Ethan's bringing Ryan. You cool? Logan wants that mac and cheese you made last time. I typed back. I'm not hosting this week. 3 dots. Then my mom. Are you okay? Are you sick? My sister. This about the PS5 thing? Don't be petty. My dad. Hard work deserves rewards. That's not illegal. I put my phone face down. Made grilled cheese and tomato soup. Drew wore a beanie indoors and read a graphic novel about time-traveling ferrets. It was quiet in the best way. At noon the next day, I got an email. Instacart payment failed. 12 minutes later, my mom texted. Groceries didn't go through. Everything okay with your bank? I didn't reply. Not immediately. I was slicing strawberries for Drew's lunch, and he was leaning over the counter like a tiny sous chef, narrating the lunchbox's contents like it was an unboxing video. PB&J, strawberries, chips, water, and a bonus chocolate from the hidden stash. At 4:22 p.m., I got another call. My sister this time. No one knows what's going on with the bills. Dad says the light company's calling. I told you, I said calmly. You need to put your own card on the account. You're being cruel, Claire. No, I'm being clear. I'm not your backup bank. And I'm not funding a family that doesn't include my child. That's ridiculous. Drew knows we love him. He knows what he has. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, you know it's not about the gas card. She hung up. For 3 days, the group chat went dark. Then my sister sent a screenshot of a VRBO payment screen. Balance due by June 15th. Did your card change? I didn't reply. Because it had. Ethan texted next. My brother. The guy who once tried to start a bar with a friend who'd been arrested twice for selling fake concert tickets and thought business plan meant posting on Instagram with beer emojis. He wrote, "This is revenge. You're acting like some guy told you to do this." Because apparently women can't make decisions without a man whispering in their ear. Never mind that the guy he was trying to blame, Drew's dad, had the emotional impact of a houseplant and wouldn't know how to plot revenge if someone handed him a blueprint. Ethan always got loud when he felt exposed, like when I refused to co-sign his entrepreneur loan last year. After that, he started calling me Cheap Claire when he wanted to hurt me and my rich sister when he wanted something. I told him no again. And again. He once told our aunt, Claire's doing so well she doesn't even notice a little more. That little more turned into me covering his car tires, his streaming services, and once even his speeding ticket because he was on his way to a job interview that turned out to be brunch. But now, the faucet was off, and Ethan noticed. I didn't block him. I just turned off notifications and watched from the quiet. That week, Drew and I made tacos on Sunday. Just us. I set the table for 2. No RSVP texts. No, is dinner still on? No playlist debates. Just cilantro, lime, and peace. We ate. We watched baking shows. Drew tried to explain sourdough starters, and I pretended to follow. Then something strange happened. People started trickling in. Not my parents or siblings, but cousins. Isabel, who lived 20 minutes away and had a dog that barked like it was protesting taxes. She texted, "You and Drew want to come over Friday? No gifts. Just pizza and the loud dog." We went. Drew laughed so hard when the dog tried to eat a balloon that milk came out of his nose. In the car, he said, "I like it when it's just people who aren't keeping score." He'd been using that phrase a lot lately. And then came Easter. It was the first big holiday I didn't plan, coordinate, or bankroll. No address was posted in the group chat. No menu. No table assignments. My mom texted the Monday after. We ended up at Chili's. I replied, hope the chips were good. I meant it. I wasn't being petty. I genuinely hoped the chips didn't break in the salsa. And then came the lake house texts. Photos of Max in a kiddie pool with a plastic flamingo. Caption, our lake house this year. I double tapped. It was funny. I hope they enjoyed the lawn. I hope Max had space to be a kid without a price tag. Ethan texted in August. You broke the family. I replied, I turned off a faucet you didn't know was running. He didn't respond. But Sundays? They were still happening. Just quieter. Just ours. Some Sundays it was just me and Drew. Tacos, board games, and the occasional visit from Aunt Ruth, who brought the kind of cookies that look like a tornado made them, but taste like your childhood if your childhood was warm and forgiving. Other weeks, Isabel and her dog would crash through the door like a sitcom entrance. Drew loved it. He'd hold court like he was hosting Drew Tonight, cracking jokes, feeding scraps to the dog, and pretending not to like the attention. We kept the extra chairs folded up against the wall. One Sunday, Drew said, it's kinda nice like this. Feels like the chairs know we only need two. I wrote that down, not in a journal, on the back of a gas bill, because some lines deserve to be saved. I wasn't pretending it didn't hurt. Of course it did. I missed the idea of family, the loud mess, the excuses, even the predictable arguments about who brought the worst wine. But I didn't miss being used like a silent sponsor, footing the bill for a play I never auditioned for. 14 months in, I finally made a list of things I didn't miss. Being asked to host things disguised as traditions. Cleaning up other people's chaos because they called it family. Watching Drew get smaller to make room for Max's spotlight. And there were things I did miss. Laughing so hard Drew snorted milk. Grocery shopping without thinking about who needed what that wasn't me. Sunday dinners that didn't feel like performance reviews. My parents still called sometimes. Less often. Usually my dad started with, how's my boy? Once, out of nowhere, he said, did you know your mother's sister used to give your cousins those expensive dolls? You always got the puzzle. He laughed like it was a charming anecdote. I said, yeah, I stopped solving those. He went quiet, like he'd just stumbled onto a new idea. I wasn't angry anymore. Not every moment. But I was clearer. And that clarity was its own kind of peace. Thanksgiving came. I hosted again, for myself. Drew. Aunt Ruth. Isabel. A couple cousins who brought paper plates and pies like offerings at a new altar. I didn't roast a turkey. That felt performative. I made a chicken. Small, manageable, real. I set 2 empty chairs. I didn't stare at them. I just let them be there. Drew made place cards with little tacos drawn in the corners. Mine read, Mom, Editor-in-Chief of Sundays. I stuck it to the fridge with the same magnet that once held grocery receipts. Next to his latest report card and a drawing he titled our table. The chairs were too big. The plates were too round. But the smiles were right. This wasn't a lesson I taught him. This was a mirror. The week after Thanksgiving, I moved the family Sunday's money, what was left of it, into a new direction. That night, I'd closed the account. The full $9,116. 48 went into savings. And after months of letting it sit, I opened a $529 plan for Drew. Put in $6,000 to start. Set a recurring monthly deposit of $250. I handed him the printed statement like it was a treasure map. He blinked at it, squinting like the numbers were in Morse code. This is for college. Or whatever you want to learn. He looked back at me, eyes wide. Even like marine biology? Or game design? Or building a better kind of vending machine? All of it. He nodded solemnly, like he was swearing a Jedi oath. Then we celebrated, with gas station gummy worms. It felt like a joke at first, but by the time we walked home with scratchers and sour candies in a paper sack, it felt like closure. A $15 card started all of this. And now it was just us again. Whole and visible. We didn't talk about the lake house anymore. Instead, in August, I found a tiny cabin in Indiana on a slow river. 1 bedroom. A fishing pole propped on the porch. It cost $540 for 4 nights. No big veranda, but a screen door that whined like a blues singer and mosquitoes that could vote. The fire pit was too ambitious for us, so we made esmores in a skillet on the stove. Drew read on the couch and fell asleep with a book on his chest. It wasn't curated. It wasn't Instagrammable, but it was ours. Back home, I wrote a column about a woman who held up a receipt during a budget hearing and asked the city to explain itself. She wanted to know where her money was going. She said, "If you don't track it, they'll spend it for you." That hit me harder than I expected, because I had done that. Not with potholes or permits, but with love, with obligation, with silence. I'd been paying into a system that didn't see my son, that didn't think he was worth a real gift, that let him stand in the corner with his perfect grades and good heart while Max opened electronics like he'd won a sweepstakes. And I had funded it. Until I didn't. People like a neat ending. A moment when the parents realize they were wrong, apologize, and everyone sits at one big table again, sharing a laugh over burnt pie and family quirks. A redemption arc, preferably with matching sweaters. But that's not what happened. What happened is, I built a new table. One where every person seated is seen. Where the price of admission isn't silence, or sacrifice, or pretending your kid isn't hurting just so the lasagna doesn't get cold. My parents? They still call sometimes. The tone is different. Softer. Like they're navigating a country they never learned the language for. One Saturday, my dad showed up with a bag of oranges. They were on sale, he said, holding them like peace offerings. He glanced around my kitchen like a man surprised to find a new city on a familiar map. His eyes landed on the fridge, on Drew's drawing, on the place card that read, Editor-in-Chief of Sundays. He tapped it gently and said, "He's good, huh?" "He is," I replied. Then I sent him home with leftover tacos. No calendar invite. No follow-up about the electric bill. That cream carpet at their house. Probably still spotless. Because we haven't stepped on it. Not in a while. And my table? Still wobbles a little. I have to tuck a napkin under one leg to keep it even. But it holds. It holds just fine. Sometimes, I still get tempted to reach for my phone when the group chat lights up with, "Do we know who's hosting Christmas?" But I don't. Not anymore. Because I don't owe anyone the story behind my decision to choose my son. I just live it. In quiet ways. In gummy worms and board games. In receipts that say you matter. The family said I was vengeful. Dramatic. Overreacting. But here's what I actually did. I stopped paying for a table where my kid would never win the comparison game. And I built one where no one has to. It doesn't seat many. But everyone at it is seen. And that's more than enough.